Today on the Dean Show we got Joshua Evans. He's a former Christian youth minister who accepted Islam years back. And today he's on the Dean Show continuing, letting us know his story, his road to Islam, being one who went from studying the Bible in depth to questioning it, to leaving Christianity, to becoming a Muslim, one who submits and surrenders to one God, alone, without any partners.
Walaikum salam.
Alright, let's continue on with your story. We left off talking about questioning in the Bible, finding out certain things that didn't make sense, some of the greatest messengers that God had sent to humanity, their character, one, Noah in particular, being called a drunk, Lot being molested by his daughters, or what was it? Yeah, things that didn't make sense, because these are supposed to be our examples, people we're supposed to follow and emulate. So it didn't make sense, to questioning the Trinity and other things in the Bible, going to your higher ups. Let's continue on from here.
Yeah, basically, based on reading the Bible and seeing all these stories that didn't make sense to me, not only that, but the textual contradictions of the Bible. There's thousands of them. And if you read the Hebrew, you can very clearly see, when you look at the layout of the Hebrew text, there's parts where it sounds so beautiful, where you could tell this comes from a higher power. This person who's speaking here is someone not human. And then you'll get to a part that sounds like a fourth grader speaking. Like broken Hebrew, like slang Hebrew. So it goes back to all of these things that make sense to me. So in the contradiction between what Jesus taught and Paul taught. So I left Christianity and decided that I was going to take a search and find out the right religion. Because I knew there had to be one. God had to have a direction that He wanted me to live my life. He did not just place me on this earth, because I never lost my faith in God, for sure, because I could just look at the world around me and know that there was a God. This stuff didn't just happen. I never believed in the Darwinian theory, all of that coming up. That stuff made no... I was way not believing in that. So I started studying every religion. I studied Buddhism. Well, I went back to Judaism first to see if they got it right, but then I realized what Jesus said about them, that they were too caught up in the law, that there was two factions of Judaism. Ones that were so caught up in the law that they left no room for spirituality. There was no room for the spirit to grow. Then there was those that were so caught up in spirituality that they left they would cross all bounds. So there was no common ground between them. So I went on to study Buddhism, and because I was studying Jeet Kune Do and Kung Fu at the time, and I started studying some Taoism, Confucianism, all the Eastern religions. Then I studied Hinduism, and even studied some Wiccan. For those who may be familiar with Wiccan, it's like witchcraft type of religion.
You were just all over the place.
I studied everything I could get my hands on. Mormonism. If I could read, if it was an ism or a religion, or I would read it.
That's kind of odd, because today many people are caught up into materialism, but you were searching for a deeper spiritual connection
at this point in life.
Yeah.
At this point in life, and I don't want to rule Islam out. I don't want to rule Islam out, because I did get a book about Islam in a public library, and this book was written by an Orientalist. I know now. At the time I didn't know.
Orientalist meaning
the Eastern scholars, like of Europe, that wrote books
against Islam.
They're very derogatory about Islam. They gained knowledge of Islam. They got degrees in Islam in order to use that to bash Islam. So they sound like they know what they're talking about, but then they throw in their own, mix of it. And this book spoke so bad about Muslims, said that they worshipped a moon god and some box in the desert, and that Allah was some weird god, and that Muslims basically were people who were so backwards, they were barbarians, and that other thing, that they kill everyone that's not Muslim at any time, any place, anywhere they can find them. So needless to say, I closed that book, put it back, thanks but no thanks, and crossed Islam off the list. So after not being able to find the truth at 17, became very frustrated. I became angry at God. And at 17, this was just the ripe age when all my friends were getting into the parties in high school. I was a junior in high school, getting into the parties. I went into the party scene and got into the the life, the street life, as they say. And I was the type of person that I'm a perfectionist at heart. Whatever I try to do it better than anybody else. When I was a Christian, I was going to be the best Christian I could be. You know, when I started studying these other religions, if I wanted to become a Buddhist, I was going to become the best Buddhist I could be. So if I decided that I wanted to live the street life, for sure nobody was going to beat me at that. You know, so I went very headlong into it, getting in fights, you know, every other night, you know, going out 3, 4 in the morning, getting kicked out of school. You know, my grandmother's flipping out. She's like, you know, not understanding what happened. You know, I like a whole 180-degree turn here. And all of this stuff led me down a very bad road, you know. I wasn't happy with my life, but I didn't have anything else, you know. When people would ask me, you know, why are you doing it? I'm like, what else, you know? Show me something else. What else is there? Because you couldn't. I was of the opinion, what are you going to bring me? I've already studied everything. There's nothing out there that makes any sense.
You felt like you really had no purpose. You had to create your own purpose.
I had to make my own purpose. I was going to create my own way in life. Mm-hmm. And if that means doing whatever I felt like doing, whenever I felt like doing it, then that's what I was going to do.
So now you started to live according to your desires.
My desires. I became my own God, in a sense. The only person I cared about pleasing was me.
Which many people, that's how they're living today.
Yeah, and I would even have times when I would feel bad, in anger, you know, tell God, you know, look, you made me like this. I looked for you, I can't find you. And my grandma the whole time was telling me, you know, that God is there, you know. He's there, you just haven't looked in the right place yet. You know, my grandmother was a person of great wisdom. So she was telling me that God is there, you just haven't looked in the right place yet. So as I was getting in this trouble, there were 2 incidences living this life that made me turn around and say, look, you need to do some more research in this thing. The first incident was I got into a car accident with a friend of mine. We were on the way back from a party at Clemson University in South Carolina. And just so happens I decided to put my seatbelt on, which was something I never did, you know, because I was of the opinion if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And when it's your time, your time. So I didn't wear a seatbelt. So when we got in the car, I was tired. We both had a little too much to drink. I said, let's put on our seatbelt, man, you know, because you're tired, you're driving. I don't trust you. I don't trust me to drive. So we were doing about probably about 60, 70 miles an hour on the interstate, and I was asleep. And I remember a jostling motion of waking up to seeing the concrete come at my face, and glass smashing, and then all, you know, flipping and boom, 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 just commotion. Needless to say, we flipped the car 6.5, 7.5 times. You know, who's counting? It's not like anybody was really counting. But the car was broken in half. You know, one side of the car ended up on one side of the road on the highway, another half ended up on the other side of the highway. And I was okay, I was conscious, and the only injury I had was I had a piece of glass stuck in my arm, and my friend had 2 broken legs. So I pulled my friend out of the car, because I'm thinking to myself, this car road flipped, you watch movies, it's going to blow up. So let's get out of the car. I pulled him out of the car, drug him to the side of the road. It just so happens that a state trooper was going the opposite way and saw the car just explode on the street. He came back and saw me standing, and he came up to me, running to me. And I guess he didn't notice that I didn't have a car like parked on the street. He thought I was a bystander. He came and ran to me and said, "Did you see what happened? You know, did you see the car? Did you see what happened?" And I looked at him. I was like, "Yeah, I was in the car. Look." And you know, I had blood all down my arm. And you know how they say you like see the blood drain from somebody's face? I saw it. Like literally, he turned pale white. And he looked at me and he said, "You gotta be kidding me." He said, "Because I've already called not only the response team, but the coroner. From what I saw of this wreck, I've already called the coroner, just in case, you know, because this is a wreck people don't live from." He said, and he took me and showed me the car. The next day after they bought the car, the impound lady, he took us. He came to our house the next day, took us. And he looked at us because he was a man of God. He said, "Boys, you need to realize God has a purpose for your life. You don't live through stuff like this without God's hand being involved in it. You know, God has a purpose for you too." So, you know, I blew it off. Man, this man doesn't know what he's talking about, man. You know, God does not care about me. You know, if he did, he would have helped me a long time ago.